Broadcasting at the heart of the Volkswagen community. This is VDubRadio.
Okay, so we have a guest in called Dan. Right, Dan. I don't know what... Hang on. Hello. My laptop's in the way a little bit. Right.
Plus, I'm really short, so... It's
so I can go on tiptoes, I suppose, but... So there's always someone who takes offence.
I always get the short thing on dating apps. I tried it a couple of months ago, and this one lady said, I can't date you because I want to wear heels. And I'm like, you can wear heels anyway. I'm not like stopping you. It just seemed like a really weird thing to say. You seem like a really nice guy, but I like to wear heels. But
well, what's stopping you wearing heels as well?
I know I could. Just get a nice pair of pink.
It would look good on you, I'm sure. Right, so you used to be Dan from A-Plan.
And now Dan from Howden.
Howden, actually.
Yeah. Before we start, I want to say that I have got the Lord of the Ring himself on the sofa with me today. Yeah, I did actually send a message to John because I'm convinced John is Batman. You know, he's stinky rich. He has a really hot girlfriend. He's always surrounded by beautiful women at shows, and he always tries to do the right thing for people. So, and when was the last time you saw John and Batman in the same room together? So I'm convinced John is actually Batman. Did you not notice the car parked? I think he flew the Batwing in and it's just hidden somewhere.
Yeah, we got the cloak on, so you can't see it.
But I think John and Amanda, bless them, are doing the right thing with Run the Ring this year, and the amount they did last year. And enjoy your break, enjoy it.
No, thank you.
And everybody's really proud of you guys.
We're always proud of you, Dan, because you're the man who provides all them stickers every year, and you do a lot more, for the scene than anyone I know, really. In the scene.
So what I wanted to talk about today, I did promise people on social media and Facebook that I would talk about that. There's two things very quickly: the insurance market with what's happening at the moment. I promise I would mention it, and also a bit to end on a bit of positivity as well. So, with the insurance market at the moment, is a lot of people are thinking the rate increases and what happened, is happening at the moment across the market is to do with the brand change. And I want to say to people, it has nothing to do with us becoming Howden. So, we've actually been Howden for 2.5 years. So the company actually bought A-Plan 2.5 years ago. It's been business as normal. We've still put exactly the same money back into the VW scene. We've supported you guys, Bristol Volksfest, Busfest. It's been business as normal. So to kind of put what's going on is to do with the brand change. That's not true. The other thing as well with so we get a lot of questions about why is rates increasing, what's going on. So it's inflation,
and that's understandable. Cost of living, everything.
Yeah, exactly. So the best way I can describe it is last year. A lot of you guys were at Bristol Volksfest and know that I blew the turbo on the van. Going to Bristol Volksfest. Luckily, it happened quite local to home. And, we always use a local garage to us. They're really reliable. So I took it in, got it repaired, job done. The bill was quite hefty. But if it happened today, if I was driving here today and the turbo went again and I took it to that garage, the price is not going to be the same as last year. It's going to be a lot higher. And this is what we're trying to explain to people is that the insurance companies, so when they put the vehicles in for repair now, they're costing more because of inflation, the cost of living. So they're having to charge people more. And the other issue we've got, which a lot of people are coming up, is what's going on with the capacity issue with one of the insurance companies. And again, the best way I can describe it to you, which is the way it was described to me, is say, for example, we're Howden. We approach this insurance company, and I'll go at a lower figure hypothetically just to make it easier to explain. So
we do have some simple listeners. So
exactly, bless you. So they said to us, Howden, you can write in a year £100 worth of business with us, and if you look at the average premium in areas, it's going to be £5 per policy. We said, yep, that's fine. So we start selling them at £5 per policy. Then the insurance company turned to us and say, right, okay, the cost of living is going up, inflation is going up, to Mr. Jones's van, it cost more to repair last year than it did this year. You now need to sell those policies at £8 a policy. That's fine, we can do that. And then again, inflation goes up, the cost of living goes up, the price of repairing the vehicles goes up. So they say, right, okay, you now need to sell them at £9 a policy. So we've gone from £5 per policy to £9 per policy. So you're going to hit your £100 that you can place with that company a lot quicker because you're not selling it at the £5.
It doesn't take long in this day and age, does it?
Exactly. So with the premiums going up anyway because of inflation and the insurance company taking a step back. And I think, with people rightfully, I mean, I had a chat with a guy yesterday, completely sympathised with what's happening. He'd posted up on social media, and he ended up being just such a nice guy who was struggling. We get it. I'm a single guy. I live on my own. In the 2.5 years I've been living in the place where I've moved into, my bills are shot up. I budgeted and targeted for what I can do when I moved in there. Heating oil, £350 more last year for heating. So we understand, we get it. And I want to say to people, look, we are working on it. We're not, when people get, the minority, we're getting the big increase ones, legally we have to send it out. So if we can't place it with the company that's reached the capacity issue, we have to send the best alternative. We're not sending it out thinking, these guys are going to pay us 1,400 quid now. We know that you're going to shop around and go, but what we're saying is look, at the moment, under the current financial, this is the best we can offer. We're not saying, it's almost like, if I had an Apple stall and somebody else had an Apple stall and my suppliers give me an Apple for £5, but somebody else is down the road selling it for £1, we're going to expect you to buy the one for £1.
Everyone wants cheaper insurance.
Yeah, that's business side.
But it's not only the cheaper insurance. I mean, we've been with you for a while. We didn't actually know at the time. We go, well, we're going to swap over to A Plan when it was A Plan. And was already there. Yeah. So we didn't. I mean, when we looked around, and everyone's going, they're the cheapest, they're the best. And it's not always about being the cheapest. It's about if something happens, you need help.
At the moment, the insurance industry is going for. I was reading just so many blogs from, forums and groups and the Financial Conduct Authority and different insurance companies' takes on it, and the general kind of view in it is that we've reached the peak of how bad it's going to get, and premiums will start coming back down, and the capacity issue will sort itself out. And we've also got my manager I've worked with for 21 years, 22 years, he's out talking to new insurance companies each day and saying, look, we need a solution to help people out. So I just want to say to people, look, please bear with us, and we are working on it. We understand, we're all bill payers ourselves. We've all got bills to pay.
It is tough out there,
and we get it. We're not the Rishi Sunaks of the world saying, look, we're all in this together, and then go back to my mansion. Well,
why was you pointing at John then?
Have you seen the car he pulled up in today? No wonder the premiums have gone up. It's amazing, that car.
Well, my 2008 Ford Focus with the big dent down the side.
Yeah, that one.
Just like,
he's got it all in there.
I'm actually surprised it got me here, to be honest. So,
I love the fact he looked at me then.
I want to talk about the positive side of stuff that we are doing, and one thing that's really important to me. I kind of got this idea last weekend because last Saturday I ran a race I ran before called the Reading Gutbuster, which is the biggest challenge. It's 10 miles trail race through mud.
Oh, maybe not.
Mud and water and stuff like that. So and I talked to a lot of people about fitness and training and just how better you feel doing it. So I put a lot of messages on Facebook, and I did get a lot of messages back saying, "Oh, but running's only for elite people. You obviously find it really easy." And all I said, if you came to that race last weekend, so they did the 10 miler and the 10K, you would see people of all abilities, all shapes and sizes doing it. And one thing that I really loved was when because I did the 10 miler and there was the 10K, and the last 2 miles were absolutely brutal. I mean, the last mile is you muddy. Run for a cabbage field thick with mud. And I was running next to this. I caught up with this lady who was doing the 10K, and she was in and she was still giving it her best. She was still running, and I sort of clapped and I went, "Come on!" I said, "We're near the end. We've got this," like that. And she sort of looked at me and she looked a bit tired and she went, "I'm only doing the 10K," and I slowed down and I said to her, "There is no such thing as only a 10K." Yeah. I said, "If you're doing a 10K, you are doing 6.2 miles." In this mud, I said, be proud of that.
Yeah, well, even just getting out and doing a normal run,
exactly.
I applaud people for doing that.
So I've come up with the idea, which I've said to Howden and our marketing team, and it's something that we're going to be putting together in the next couple of months, and it's kind of supporting and giving back to sporting clubs and to get people enjoying life, and having that passion. Yep. If it's, this is why I put a post up and I said, look, what are your interests? Obviously John is money. We know that much. And
I'm just driven by money, mate.
Rolls around in it.
He needs
sleep on it, being a man.
But I love the thread because it could be anything. Somebody said, I like bird watching. I like kayaking. I just like hiking. So what we're going to do is we're going to be putting something together which really nurtures and support that. So I was watching this program that was really interesting where doctors and scientists were talking about the future and things that affect us, and I didn't realize that they were saying that things like obesity is going to overtake smoking for the biggest cause of cancer.
I'm not surprised.
That is absolutely amazing. So just a poor diet could increase your chances more than smoking and getting cancer.
And to be active, it's just good for your body,
absolutely.
isn't it?
And when you do something like the Reading Gut Buster, I'm always. In fact, actually, when I finished the race, I got my medal, went back, and I cheered that lady coming in. I'm like, come on, get in there, and everybody else coming in, and that's that community spirit of it. It's just that passion and just getting people just living life and enjoying it and having that passion for stuff. And we want to get more involved and support the clubs to make it easier for them to get people.
You do realise you're saying this in the first week of January, just after Christmas, though, don't you? We've all had a gut buster ourselves, right?
Well, it's the perfect time, surely. Everyone wants to go and get fit now, don't they?
Everyone needs to get out there and run.
They do.
But with obviously show season, it gets quite difficult to do all the running events. So what I do is I sort of cram them in at the beginning of the year and the late in the year. So on the 20th, I'm supporting the Winchester half marathon, and again I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to cheer people on, and once I've got my medal at the end, I want to go and cheer everyone.
Well, you're going to run your race, and all the losers behind you, you're going to go, "Come on, well done."
That's it. You're in there, and stuff like that. But I think
I'm joking.
Yeah, it is. And I was chatting to. There were some ringers I'm really good friends with now. Elisa, Harry, and Kerry, and these guys are awesome. I've had dinner with them, and I went down to Bournemouth a couple of weekends ago, actually the day after my birthday, and we were chatting, and I said one thing that I always live by. There's two things actually which I said to John earlier. I want to be the reason somebody smiles and not frowns. That's one thing I live by, and the other thing as well is that I'm 48 now, so I'm getting older. But one thing I always said is that when
you had a hard paper round, didn't you?
I was going to say that myself, but
when I'm at that age where my body cannot do it anymore, I want to go down to Bournemouth with the half marathon on, which I do every year, watch it with a cup of coffee, and just watch the next generation of runners enjoying it, and just think, I did that. I'm proud of it. I did it, and look at all these amazing people now that are starting their running journey. And this is what it is about. It's just encouraging and just saying to people, look, do not be nervous or scared or care about what people think. So
also, a lot of people are anxious if they're not been doing exercise or running, for example.
Exactly.
They go along there like, I don't know.
Yeah, people think that people are going to judge you, and they don't. I mentioned on my group, for example, the Reading Gut Buster. It's all chip timed, and so you get a list of where you've come on the list. I know that I was 71 out of the 200. I couldn't tell you where anybody else come. You'll cheer people on, but then it's you care about your own achievement, and it is your journey. It's your own achievement.
Yeah, but like
I couldn't tell you who
it's
came
nice
first.
to support, isn't it? And
I couldn't tell you who
came last. It's very good to hear you saying all that. It's really nice for an insurance broker.
for that evil man that's kind of. But yeah, so this is what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be putting something together to support clubs. Get that's people good. Enjoying life, being healthy, and happiness. There's something about just being happy which changes your mindset. I mean, I'll be honest. With all the feedback and stuff that's been happening, I was down over Christmas. It was really difficult. I was saying to my mum, I've never been the bad guy. That's the weirdest thing. Is like when you do the shows and events, you're out there and you're supporting it, and the atmosphere is great, and suddenly I've become the bad guy, and I'm not used to it. It's kind of really weird. It's suddenly like everybody now just.
The one thing I'd say about that is when we read the forums and we see you getting it, like as in there's a lot of people out there that at the moment are sort of hating the insurance. It's this
which we understand.
Yeah, it's this sort of like Howden bashing going on because they've got a new brand. All of a sudden everything's gone up and all the rest of it. But when I see Dan having to put those fires out, as I said to you the other day, it's quite heart-wrenching because you know Dan. He's not a guy who's...
You trust him as well,
you trust him. He's not a bad guy.
I don't know why, but you are
He's got a proper trustworthy face, isn't he? He's kind of built for trustworthiness. But yeah, you don't sort of come across as that guy. And what happens is on these forums, you get these people that are just, it's the keyboard warrior thing, right? And you get people that just, they're Dan bashing at the end of the day. And I just don't want to see it. And I'm always in there saying, look, he's doing his best, guys. Do you know what I mean? It's not him. It's not him as a person, The
guy who posted the original thread yesterday, I mean, I called him up. This was about 2 hours after we'd closed, and I
where is this thread? What, Twitter or Facebook?
It was on one of the VW groups on Facebook.
Okay.
So I did give him a call up, and as soon as I spoke to him, I thought, this is a guy who's struggling, and I spoke to him, and I was saying, look, I get it, if I opened a renewal letter, I would be feeling exactly the same. But all I want to do is just try and explain the situation. And as I said, at the moment, our supplier is selling me that apple for £5. I would perfectly understand if you went and bought an apple elsewhere for £1, and it might be that in 3 months' time, their supplier might be selling their apples more expensive and will be cheaper. And that's how the market
insurance
works.
seem to be all over the place.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Really a bizarre.
So,
I don't even know how the system works. It's I want to insure a vehicle just for me. Oh, it's £1,000. All right, okay. I want to put my son on it who's 20 and my mum who's like 75. Okay, you can have it for £100. How does that work?
That I couldn't understand. Yeah, normally the lower the lower age driver, the more expensive it is. But so there are negatives.
One other question I would say about that is what you just said is true. But if some people have got a real high expectation, so they go on to Howden and then they say, my van's worth £55,000. Well, reality is it? You've got to kind of, if you bring it all down a little bit and then you don't add your son and all the rest of it, then maybe that premium's not going to be £1,500. It'll actually come down.
No, but what I'm saying is I've had premiums before when we was looking, and it was like, for me, well, it's for my son at the time, so it's really expensive. Then we put his nan on, and you think, well, that's not going to make it come down, but it did. Then it seems to the more people you add, the premium comes down.
I see.
Like, for lower drivers, adding a maturer driver does make the difference on it, so it can make a difference.
But it was like more than one, it'd be like half a dozen. You think, well, how does that work? But, okay.
I think the other thing that's worth mentioning as well is that when you've got like a private car, like I turned up in today, it was
the Jag or
Maserati. My very humble Ford Focus Titanium 2008.
He said Ford, people. We're in a VDub studio talking about Volkswagen community. He's saying he's driving a Ford.
So when it comes to modified vans, you have just a smaller market. It's a niche
I can imagine
product.
anything modified.
So that's the thing is, if we had 20 or 30 companies that we could place that business with, then you probably wouldn't be getting so much of the issues on it. But you're so restricted in that market where people go, especially when costs are high for these type of vehicles anyway, parts and stuff like that. When you approach an insurance company now and say, right, okay, we need a new book of business, we want to help our clients out. Okay, what is your claims to loss ratio? Well, it's not very great at the moment. We'll give you a scheme. Yeah, why not? So but it will work out. As I said, we're at the peak; it will start coming down. So, but
I'm sure a lot of people would like to
the
hear
new
that.
positive thing we're going to do, which I'm hoping people will say, and get on board with and start enjoying life. I think.
No, it sounds good. I like that. I like the sound of that.
Yeah,
it's a good attitude to have.
Long live Dan.
Long live Dan.
Long live Dan.
Yeah, it was
Dan from
as
Howden.
I said, it was all inspired by the Gutbuster because, as I said, I was feeling a bit down, and when I finished the race, I felt amazing. And again, I think it captures what Run the Ring is that real community spirit. It's like Elise, Harry, and Kerry. I would never become friends with them if it wasn't for Run the Ring. And those guys are nuts. They are so funny. Elise, especially, she's just she's cracking. So she messages me all the time, and I'm chatting to Harry. And actually, Harry might be running the Bournemouth half for me. So he might be coming in and running a half marathon.
Dan, I know that we've been sort of talking about all of the price hikes and all that, but let's just reflect over all of the positive stuff you've done for our community. You've sponsored VDub Radio multiple times. Obviously, you've sponsored so many other Volkswagen events throughout the many years you've been on the scene. So you've done a lot of hard work.
It's something that it's just for me, as I said earlier, with the wanting to make people smile than frown thing. And one thing that always springs to mind is how Bristol Volksfest struggled. When they had Bristol Mudfest, and then they had COVID, and then they did it and it rained again. You know, I mean, I'm really good friends with Pete and Adrian. And, you know, Pete just, I saw him the first time it happened and he just looked devastated. And you can imagine the loss that show made, because you need your day visitors in, you need your show and shine, because it all just comes together. And, you know, I think what we do is when people phone up, we say, well, you know, where did you get a number from? Is it a particular show? I think for 2 years, I don't think we insured anybody on the back of Bristol Volksfest, purely because of the rain. They couldn't get the people in, and you know, everybody was coming to the stand. But the next year we gave them exactly the same amount of money to put into the show, because we knew that they needed to bounce back, you know. So even though we'd had 2 years where we hadn't made anything, I said to Pete, look, you know, we'll give you the same amount of money, you know. And you know, Simon and, you know, Sean at Busfest, you know, we're the main sponsor for that, and you know, we gave them a lot more money last year than we did the previous year, because we know that running the show is more expensive, and you know, and we love Busfest. I thought Busfest was amazing last year. And
you know, you are a business at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what you know is unique about what you do is that you live and breathe our community, and you give so much more back. So I know there's, you know, all this talk about price hikes and things like that, and I get that, you know, we're in an inflation sort of era right now, but if we reflect back of all of that money you've pumped into all of our sort of Volkswagen sort of events and initiatives and charities, you know, you've made such a difference. So,
I'll tell you the one thing that really did come back
on your back,
yeah, which was really hard. I'll tell you this very quickly, because it just made all my colleagues chuckle. So the previous year at Camper Jam, we sponsored the fancy dress, because we wanted people to enjoy it, and you know, everybody always goes crazy for the fancy dress. So, and I think it was there was a guy I know, he's a client, and he came up to us and he had his kid, and he said, how much did you pay to sponsor that? And I went and I told him how much. It was quite expensive, and he went, look at the prize, and he held up this little plastic medal, and he said, that's all he got for winning. And I went, right, okay. So I spoke to Camper Jam, and they said, do you want to sponsor the fancy dress next year? And I said, yeah. I said, you know, let us do the prizes. I said, you know, and they said, well, do you want to judge it? And I said, yeah, you know, that's fine, I'll judge it, I don't mind. So I said to my boss, look, you know, last year the prizes weren't great, so I actually got these goodie bags and filled them with colouring books and balloons and pencils and colouring pencils, and you know, just made the goodie bags really thick. But the one thing I didn't realise was just how hard it would be judging it. So, and I went into the tent, and just basically all the kids had made so much effort. And I walked in, they're all staring at me with these wide eyes, just going, me. And you try and pick 2 or 3 kids out of that, and just, you know, and I'm walking around and I'm so nervous and I'm babbling and I'm saying really stupid things. And my boss is sat there just laughing, because I said, this is really hard. I said, I'm going to come back tomorrow and find my gazebo burned down. You know, it's just like so difficult. And,
how old were these kids?
Well, they had like we had different stages, so you had like different age groups, like 1 to 3.
So was you worried about the teenagers burning your place?
Yeah,
down,
3 to 7, and I mean there was like there was both of them looked amazing, but I only could pick one. Campus said you could only pick one, and one girl got really upset, and I'm like, oh man.
So she was a 42-year-old blonde dressed as Wonder Woman.
I felt really
Lynn
guilty. So, but it was really funny afterwards, because I was queuing at one of the burger vans to get something to eat. And there was a couple stood there talking, waiting for food, and they had like this little girl, this little kid, little blonde girl, and she was just stood there staring at me. And I'm just like, I'm waiting for my food. I'm looking down. She's still staring. And I thought, right, she's still staring. And I thought, why is this kid just like staring at me? And then her dad came over and said she won one of the prizes and you gave her a goodie bag. That's why she's staring. And I'm just like, oh God, it's like Children of the Corn. It's like, why is this? Is she going to put my hand in a blender?
Does she have a doll in her hand as well?
You know, and the thing is, that's the thing is that, you know, I knew that the prizes weren't great, you know, and you know, so many people were supporting us, and it was like, yeah, I want to do something special back, you know. And I think next year I would do the same. I wouldn't judge it because I found that bit really hard, but I would do the goodie bags again and just make sure that when they open it up, the kids went, wow, this is amazing. You know, this is something I put effort into.
Because you put effort into doing the fancy dress. You open up your goodie bag that you won.
You get like a little plastic medal. It's like, you know,
plastic medal
exactly
and an A-plan card.
I'll have that.
And the other thing as well is
is
this year, despite
Howden
everything,
car.
this year, despite everything, we've added new shows. There's still new people we're supporting and getting out. And I think there was one guy who questioned it when I was talking about it on social media. He said, "Yeah, it's your job. You go there and you tout for business." And I said, "Well, that probably is true when it comes to the bigger shows like Camper Jam but the smaller shows that a lot of people wouldn't bother with. They still need support. Every year I go down to Cornwall and do VW Jamboree. It's quite a small show.
Oh, right, yeah.
We don't get. This last year was horrendous as well because it was so wet, but we still went and supported.
But I also think doing these smaller shows and putting yourself out there a bit.
I love the smaller
people
shows.
Respect that.
I love.
A lot of people don't want to know about things like that, giving back and helping.
For me, a big part of the payout is just when you go to the smaller shows is meeting so many people. I mean, the thing that broke the ice with John and Amanda was Westers Fest when they had Kelly Parton Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers tribute band and
ran the wrong way.
And it was just because I'm tired. But and it was a small show that broke the ice with these guys.
Dolly Rogers.
Dolly
was
Rogers,
great.
And a few years ago it was one of Natalie's show when she ran a show called Dubs of Anarchy. I was next to this awesome guy called Stuart and his partner Kerry, and I became friends with them, and that is the payout when you go to a show. It's not like I'm just here to tout, but it's fun. We're supporting Jimmer and Crawford for Van West again this year, and
well, you got to enjoy it, don't you? If you're not enjoying it, it's just pointless.
I've got to tell you, it's the worst tribute act that I'd ever seen for a pair.
They're not listening.
But the thing is, well, hopefully they're not. But the funny thing was that we decided to get a photograph with them afterwards, and we'll share it on the socials. But
I want to see
this
that now.
picture, and you've never seen the most miserable looking Kenny Rogers
I actually
in all
put
your
my
life.
arm around the guy who was Kenny Rogers.
He was going to beat him up,
and it was just like this look of thunder. It was almost like, get your arm off me. If you don't, I'm going to break it. He just looks so angry. But that's the thing is that I enjoy it and it's fun. I'll be honest with you, there is a slight part of me which is slightly dreading show season this year because I think am I going to get loads of hassle, for something I have literally no control over.
You'd think most people would understand, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
so cost of living, everything's going up.
That's kind of that worrying thing is, I'm just gonna,
Dan, we're free this year, so we can come as bouncers. It's fine.
What I might do is
and
get
when you
those
say
old-fashioned
you and
stock
Amanda.
things. I'll get those old-fashioned stock things. I can just put my arm and head for it. People could pelt me with cabbages and tomatoes.
Oh yeah, I'll be up for that. Go on.
As I said, I just want to say to
doesn't
people, look, we do actually care. This is the thing, and the team of it's affected the team a lot. I always compare it to when you watch the reality TV shows, especially the airport ones, where you've got the girl behind the counter. And I sympathise with the guy that's had his fight. He is stressed out, but he is shouting at the wrong person. All he's doing is making that girl go home miserable. You get me my flight booked, and that girl has absolutely no influence or power of what's happening. It's an industry-wide
you can
thing.
never talk to the people you need to these days.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what's going on, but you can't
yeah,
talk to anyone now.
Yeah, so I mean, there are a lot more positives than there are negatives. We've reached the peak. Marcus said capacity issue will be sorted. We've got new insurers coming on board. There is silver lining to that, but it's more what we can bring to the table, supporting the scene. The new idea with the fitness thing and supporting clubs and giving back to that as well, and getting people healthy and feeling good about themselves. And that's the goal for this year.
Okay,
absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming into the studio.
No worries.
Really appreciate it. I hope the listeners understand why prices go up and what's going on. And get into doing some running, guys.
Thank you very much. Okay, see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.